Okay, so this is my review on The Lion King 2019 live action. I know it's been out for a little bit, but we just saw it the other day. Um, and I wanted to say that it'll have tons of spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, don't look at this yet. Um, and forgive any inaccuracies because I did not watch the cartoon before, or the animated version, before I recorded this or before I went to see the other. So there may be a few inaccuracies, but please forgive me. So I'm going based purely on memory. So I'm looking at something else, so I'm sorry. Forgive me. But anyways, okay. So I kind of gave it an 8 out of 10 because me and my brother and my husband, we do this thing where we rate it like right after we've seen the movie, and they gave it my brother gave it a 7.2, my husband gave it an 8.2, and or my brother gave it a 7.0. I gave it an 8.0. My husband gave it an 8.2. So, the reasons, the good, I'm gonna do the good first, and then I'll get to my nitpicks, because it was good enough to really not nitpick, but to give a full review, I just wanted to get everything out there. So, I'll say overall it was well done. They used some of the same voices. It was a good, like, excuse me, sorry. So they used some of the same voices. It was good that they stayed close to each scene, like scene for scene. You could pretty much follow it the same way, so it was pretty good. And they aimed at all the feels, like they tried to get you involved. They had you loving the kids. They got you a little upset when Mufasa died. All the usual stuff. You're a little pissed off at Scar because of who he is and what he's doing. So they aimed at all the feels, and any of the changes they had were small, and they were small but effective and acceptable. So it's like it kind of fit in. It gave the same purpose, like it gave that comedy element, or it gave information which was useful or needed. So it was well done. They did a good job there as well, and the CGI was pretty good. Like it was like if you probably looked too hard, you could probably find a few flaws here and there, but they did a really good job. And I know technology, the further we get into time, the better our technology gets. So it was, even the first scene, it was almost like, because I know in the animated version, a lot of people kind of made a comment like, oh, it looks so real. So in this one, I was like, did they use like CGI for it, or was that scene like real, kind of like the animated version? But it was probably, could have been all CGI, I don't know, but either way, they did a really good job. I like the added parts, and by added parts I mean they explain, like I said, they changed the comedy up a little bit, and it's a few things where they added info, like when Rafiki gets the scent from Simba, and he's like, when the dust or the debris flies around and gets back to him. Well, in this one, it's a piece of fur that takes a mighty travel, and then ends up in a giraffe and comes out, as we see, via dung beetle. And it was pretty cool, the following the journey, and then he sniffs the fur and he's like, oh, Simba. And I'm like, that makes sense, so I thought that was really good. And the fact that they showed a little scene where Nala is leaving the Pride and going to the oasis, or the paradise part where Timon and Pumbaa are, and I don't recall them explaining that in the animated one. You just kind of see her, and she's like, "Oh, I came out here looking for help. We're looking for food, things like that." So I like that they gave a little bit of adventure there, a little bit more of an explanation. So now those are my good things. Like the songs were great, CGI was great. Overall, everything was great. But there are a few things where I'm like, if I have to nitpick, um, my biggest pet peeve about this so far is, why can't we say lioness? That drove me a little bit nuts, and because the word lioness, because she was, because Nala gets everybody all geared to go to attack Scar, and she's like, "Come on, lions, let's go get them." I'm like, no, lionesses, because I felt like saying a lion's kind of, nothing wrong with a lion. The lion is strong, and all of them are technically lions, but the lion, male lion, is strong, and he's protective. He's the leader of the pride and stuff like that. That's cool. But a lioness, like I was explaining to them last night, like, a lioness, if you hear a lion coming for you, oh no, I'm scared. Like, really, I'm scared. That's not cool. But if a lioness is coming for you, that's like a different level of fear, because either she's coming to protect her cub or she's coming to hunt, and you need to not be in that area anywhere. Like, it's just elevated. So to me, a lioness shows more strength, or it makes me think of more strength. It makes me think of more fear. Makes me think of more oomph than just a lion. So I didn't think that was cool that they couldn't say lioness, and I thought maybe it was just the thing, but then it happened a couple times. So I'm like, no, lioness is okay. Maybe it was a PC culture thing, which sometimes drives me nuts, but lioness is okay. Then you have there was no luau song. When Timon and Pumbaa are going to be the bait, and he said, "What do you want me to do? Dress and drag and do the hula?" Maybe it was because, again, PC culture, dress and drag, blah blah blah. I'm sorry, people are too sensitive nowadays. But that was cute and funny, and I'm sorry if anybody had a problem with that. But it's a movie, so move on or don't watch it, whatever you want. But I missed that part. That was pretty cool. And then, but what they did was okay. The intro to Be My Guest was okay. They could have even done the one that they do in the play, which is, I think, the Madison or the Chester. I don't know. I think it's the Madison or Charleston. I think that's it. But anyway, they could have did that, but they did the intro to Be My Guest, which was okay, but I really liked the luau one. That was the best. And then the Mr. Pig, when he goes charging through the hyenas, he's like, "They call me Mr. Pig," and he charges through. That would have been amazing. I was waiting for that. It didn't happen. Speaking of things I was waiting for the whole with the part in the animated movie when Simba gets knocked upside the head with Rafiki's staff, and Rafiki's like, "It doesn't matter, it's in the past." I was very upset, because I'm like, that little teeny lesson, it meant something to me back then, and I think that it would be a really good lesson, especially today's kids, really good lesson for them to learn. So I thought that was missing, a missing element that could have done, could have made a big difference for somebody like it did for me when I was a kid, because a lot of kids today don't get it, don't understand. Not all of them, some of them do, but it could have helped. Not that I've never been knocked upside the head before, but the fact that it doesn't matter because it's in the past, you're moving forward, so forth and so on. I like that lesson. And like I said, it could have been really useful to kids nowadays. So, but yeah, so that was missing. And then we get to the hyenas, and I see what they tried to do with Ed there. That was okay, but it still wasn't Ed. It wasn't Ed. It was something eerie and scary about him not being able to speak and just doing those creepy laughs. Oh my gosh, that was so... I missed that. That was so amazing in the animated version. But in this one, he talked, and it kind of like diminished it a wee bit. But then no Whoopi. I get it. Whoopi might have had a lot going on. Maybe it was some issues involved or whatever. I don't know. But the female hyena that they had, she was okay, but I didn't like the whole Queen of the Hyenas kind of thing. I mean, it was okay. It wasn't horrible, but the Whoopi element added the comedy, and I I don't know. I like that comedy element, that comical element that she added with the three of them. And while we were discussing that part, something my husband mentioned about getting the impression, because in an animated version, he gives the impression that Scar has been with them a couple times. Like, he's met up with them and he's kind of established his dominance with them. But in this one, he said it seemed like Scar was meeting them for the first time. But I kind of disagreed, because I think that he does kind of show that he had some kind of relationship with them, whether it was the initial one or not the initial one, whether it was the important one where he already had them in the line or lined up to take that one step over to go after Mufasa. But I don't know. But in this one, he definitely didn't establish that king of the hyena type of thing, or their unofficial leader kind of role. He didn't do that. He did do that when he came to them, as they showed in the movie. But yeah. So I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that it was a first time meeting, or do you think that he had already established it? I'm trying not to be biased, because I'm still comparing it to the animated one, but who knows? But anyway, so like I said, the comedy dialogue, the changes were okay. It wasn't that many. There weren't that many, but it was all right. Oh, and one thing I've been hearing about is the "Can You Feel the Love Tonight?" that song, and how it wasn't done at night. But as we were discussing, it's Africa, so even in Florida, it could be 9 p.m., 9:30. That's still nighttime. Like, that's beyond evening. So it's Africa, so it's hot. It's gonna be daylight for long periods of time. And they also showed like the I don't know if they're over here, we call them lightning bugs, the little glow bugs or whatever. They mainly come out in the evening. So I think that was their way of showing the evening, but they were trying to keep it realistic by showing, okay, it's Africa, it's not going to be pitch black. Not necessarily going to be pitch black at 9:30. So just taking that into consideration, it still could have been evening time. So leading into night. So and I don't know if it was just our theater, but our songs were weird. Like, the lyrics, the vocal parts overrode the musical part, the instrumentals. So I don't know if that was just our theater or not, or if that's how the sound was, but it was okay, but it would have helped if the lyrics and the instrumental parts could have met and been balanced. That would have been much nicer. And you're always waiting for that loud boom when the title comes up, like The Lion King, and and the choir singing. And yeah, I don't recall a whole choir, but I think it may have been buried in the instrumental somewhere. But the circle of life and blah blah blah, and then boom, like when we saw it in the theater way back when the animated one came out, that shook the theater. So I was kind of waiting for that this time, but it didn't happen. But that's okay. That's okay. So yeah, Mighty King was okay. It left me wanting a little bit, because again, I know it's not the animated one, so they can't do everything that the live action one can't do everything that the animated one could have. But I really enjoyed it in the animated one, because it was so, you kind of got really hyped with it. Like, you're really excited, especially as a kid. You're really excited, and everything was fun. It was colorful. It was bright. They were jumping all over the place doing things. And again, I know there's going to be a slight difference, but I just think musically it wasn't up there. But again, it was pretty good. And the other song was Be Prepared. That one actually, I thought, I was a little nervous because it was different, but it was still intimidating. So I'll give them that. It served the purpose. It got the dialogue out there. It established the relationships, and it was intimidating. I was still a little like, whoa, this is dark. Scar is creepy. I hate his guts, so that was still good. And then speaking of songs, that Spirit song, okay, I know I might get hate for that. I might get hate for that, but that Spirit song was just not needed. They could have played instrumentals right there. It was not needed. I just was like, this feels so misplaced, and just too much. I didn't know. I was like, no. So other than that, and a smidge of overacting. Oh, speaking of acting, I know that the people who were the same voices, I know that they're a little older and their voices are slightly changed, but they were still recognizable. But it was a little diminished for me a little bit because I love James Earl Jones, but you could tell that I don't know, just he sounded older. He sounded tired, and it wasn't as intimidating, as the animated version. But again, that's totally forgivable. I understand. But yeah, so okay, and that's gonna wrap it up for me. If anybody listened to this, then I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you take it into consideration and still go see it. Thank you, Disney, for making up for Aladdin. I was trying to. Oh, that was a thing. I was gonna say that about when I was talking about the lionesses. I was gonna say that. Speaking of respect, I was comparing it to Aladdin. How in Aladdin, when they're doing Prince Ali, and he says in an animated version, he says, heard your princess was a sight lovely to see. To me, that's much more respectful than I heard your princess was hot, and that drove me nuts because I'm like, hot is so much. I mean, okay, I get it. I'm not really in today's world. Like, if you're out in the street, I don't care if somebody says somebody's hot. That's fine. But an animated children's movie, I think hot is a little disrespectful. A woman lovely to see is a lot more respectful than that. So I was a little pissed about that, but I didn't like Aladdin at all. So Aladdin, live action Aladdin at all. So that's why I won't even do a review about it, because everything I say will be hate. So I'm trying not to be that way. But anyway, okay, now I'm done. And I hope you still go see The Lion King, not Aladdin, and enjoy it and have a wonderful time. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day. Bye.